All right, everyone, welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott, and over here is Rob. We are here with a live report because there is breaking news in the wrestling world. It's not the best news, we'll be honest, but it's big news to say the least because we have seen several wrestlers cut from their contracts today, and we'll be talking about that in detail right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, yeah. So as we said, as we just came on the air there, we've had the news coming in of several WWE releases, and we can see them scrolling through the screen at the bottom now. Stick with us live, and if you're watching on demand, stay to the end because we're not sure where this is going to go, Rob. You know, we see this every now and then with these WWE releases, and the names just keep piling in. And you know, while I hope we don't have more because it's not nice to hear about anyone lose their job. We've got a story here to cover with quite a few of these guys as far as their WWE careers, and hopefully, you know, looking to the future and seeing what we might be able to kind of see them going forward in the wrestling world. So, initial kind of thoughts on this one, Rob?
Do you know what? Honestly, I don't want to be disrespectful to the WWE, but they've just sold the company, like with the TKO stuff. They've just merged. It's like a multi-billion-dollar like resurgence for the company. And how are they releasing people for budget cuts? Like I can't understand that the way they've announced it, it's a budget cut thing. Well, you've just bought a company. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of funding there. So if they could afford to buy
come into the company right now.
That's what I'm saying. So how can they be a budget cut situation?
Well, the thing is, I guess when these companies do merge and all these kind of numbers get moved over and stuff like that, you tend to get this quite a lot. And there were warnings coming a few days ago. WWE themselves put something out to talent that got reported on as well. Not to talent, just to members of staff overall. And it didn't seem like it was going to be a talent thing. Now it is. Now, every time we get these reports, Rob, it is annoying because you do go, big company budget cuts isn't necessary. But, you know, they're trimming the fat. And a lot of these companies are going to do that. What the issue is, the problem is, a lot of these are talented superstars who kind of, you know, don't deserve it. Now, I know looking at the names we're seeing at the moment, while some of them have had fairly big highlights in the WWE, if we're completely honest, none of them are being used at the moment in a meaningful way. And that is what's kind of two sides of it. It means, well, that's understanding, you know. I look back at some of the other streams we've done on this channel as far as releases and how shocking some of the names were. I don't think there's anyone here that I'm truly shocked by. I'm just kind of frustrated about, you know, because a lot of them, I think, either didn't get the opportunity or weirdly did and then got stopped in their tracks, you know, and they haven't been used properly. I think one that comes to my mind is Rick Boogs, just how over Rick Boogs was with Nakamura. And it's heartbreaking because I remember saying to you a few months ago back on the stream when around WrestleMania and he got injured, and I had watched the 24 and it was like, man, like I forgot how over that guy was. And you see how sad it is that he comes back, you know, that he had to fight his way back. And I remember saying at the time it was disappointing that he hadn't reached that level. Since then, he's done even less. I don't think I've seen him since then. And now he's gone from the company. It is a big shame. And I think it's easier to say because of how they're being used at the moment. Oh, Boog's not much of a loss. But like potential-wise, it kind of is a big deal because, again, he was being used in a very good way. He was very much over at the time. And now we don't get to see more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's just madness, as you said. Like, budget cuts away. They're going to come and go. But they happen. As you said, it's just get cutting the fat. And as you said, the people, like the superstars that have been released, you know, you're right. Like, they haven't done much. However, how much hours of television do they have? So how can all of these wrestlers that they have not be doing something? I mean, they've even got like so Becky Lynch. She's now gone down to NXT, like, and she's doing so far. What we've seen has been great, but I mean, NXT. I think it's NXT No Mercy that's coming up. I had Dominic versus Ali. So how can you like the whole
really?
Scottish
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man.
I didn't even know that.
Like, I just don't understand like something was happening. So how can you now just pull the rug from it and that's it?
I mean, they've done it
Like, do you
before,
know what I
haven't they?
mean?
I think when we done again some of our streams before, I remember they just rebranded Keith Lee and they let him go. They tried stuff with Scarlett and Cross and they let them go. Obviously, they're now back, and a lot of those people on those did come back. And it could be the case with some of these people here. Now, speaking of someone that did come back, is Emma. Emma was released years ago. She went off and did her own thing as under her own name and did great in Impact. And people wanted her to show up in AEW, and she ended up showing back up in WWE. And Emma's someone I enjoyed in her first run. And again, comes back, does nothing. And the most heartbreaking thing about Emma's situation is that earlier today, they announced what she described as a dream. WWE going to Perth to have a PLE in Australia. Absolutely heartbreaking stuff. And it is just, it's such a shame. And this is great. That's great news in itself. And I wanted to kind of talk about that anyway at some time soon because I'm so excited about that. But this puts a little bit of a dampener on it, not just for me and for other fans, but someone like Emma herself as a superstar. Ryan says, I love Mustafa Ali. Ali's another big name.
It's so good, man.
It could have been a huge name in WWE and a missed opportunity. We'll get into Ali in a bit more detail in a moment, but I do want to just kind of bring up this tweet from Emma, as I mentioned just a moment ago, because it kind of hits you hard, just the gravity of the situation to kind of to lose your job, and lose your dream job. You first have this tweet. Let me see if I can get us up on the screen first of all. First tweet, right? At time of recording this, Rob, this is an hour ago. She says a dream at WWE. Not even, still says an hour ago. So it couldn't have been that long after. Oops, never mind. I just got released. I'm no longer with WWE. I mean, what a heartbreaking situation that is alone.
So to clarify, when I see it, it was at 44 minutes. So obviously time has passed since we've planned to get on the stream and getting some stuff sorted on that. But I think it was literally about 45 minutes between her saying her dream and her being released. Just madness.
Getting that phone call in between.
Do you know what?
It's unfortunate.
I think the other thing we've got to remember, so for the people that are watching, you expect memes and certain wrestlers, if they wasn't great, I say, and I'm not moaning about the person, but Top Dolla, everyone always had a comment about he'd have a great match and people would still find a negative thing in him, right? And I understand that because sometimes it's cool to hate certain people in wrestling. That's what some people like to do. Not me, but that's what some people like to do. However, we have to remember, or everyone has to remember, they have just lost their jobs. It's not like they go there and it's just a television show. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like they have lost their jobs. So
and to really drive that home, mate, if you look at the pin tweet, it's a reminder that her husband, Riddick, or I don't know if they're married yet, excuse me. No, they're engaged. Sorry, as you can see from the picture. Just got let go as well. Riddick Moss. And when the news came up about Riddick Moss, I thought, hold on a minute. I haven't seen anything of him for ages. You remember the feud he had with Baron Corbin? I thought, wow, we've got a breakout situation here. I genuinely don't remember anything happening after that.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. Like it's such a strange, and then people complain that these guys, they should have been used or wasted talent. For example, someone commented about Ali. Fantastic talent. At one point it was over with the fans. They've done this weird thing with Retribution. The COVID era obviously didn't help him at all. They tried to rebrand him, then they rebranded him again, and then he got released. Like I just don't see how that is someone for the future.
I mean, it was always time, a year ago now, maybe, that he was apparently asking for his release and all this kind of stuff. Ryan says, why was Ali fired? Yeah, I mean, we don't know. As you can see, Ryan, we're shocked by it as well, because this is someone that they apparently saw value in by keeping him along and involved about a year ago, like I said, when he nearly quit, apparently. And, I was making these thoughts known on Twitter at the time, or X as they call it these days. But, yeah, I was like, okay, fair enough. They've kept him. They're going to do something with him. No. And as you say, there's so many hours of TV. Look, I understand, as we said, trimming the fat and cutting costs and things like that. And not everyone's going to work out. Not everyone's going to be WWE champion and so on. But at the same time, there is this kind of weird scenario where they have all these hours of TV to fill, and these guys could have filled it. Yes, some of these people were on TV. Think about Top Dollar and the rest of Hit Row. I don't know what's going to happen with them, and I'm hopeful it kind of stops there. But we tend to see stables overlapping these kind of announcements, but we'll see how that goes. But at the moment, it's just Top Dollar. But it's just like he was being somewhat used. He's been involved in storylines lately and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of them, like, why couldn't they have been utilized on NXT? Again, why are we getting Becky Lynch going down to NXT? Yeah, it kind of raises the profile, you could say, but there's still plenty of room on NXT to put in someone like Rick Boogs, who isn't being used on the main roster. There is plenty of room to use Ali or Riddick Moss and give them another opportunity. Emma, talking about opportunities, like, again, I thought it was going to be something for her coming back to the WWE. And again, she was a big name in women's wrestling in the period that she was away from there. And for her to go back, it just feels like a complete waste. Maybe not, because she got to spend time with Riddick and they got engaged, don't get me wrong. So you got to take the positives with it. But at the same time, as far as potential as a wrestler, it's a real shame that it's been a wasted opportunity.
So another one, Elias. Now, obviously, we put so we put in the group chat that we have, the famous group chat of our four of us. That basically, Elias was no longer under a contract. Like, his contract had expired, or it was going to expire. It's one of those. Obviously, we don't really know for sure the ins and outs of their contracts. But Elias has put something up. I don't know if you want to throw it up on the screen if you can find it. It's I am Elias WWE.
But he ain't anymore. I'm sorry to make a joke. I should have said that.
But yeah,
I should have said that. Sorry, guys. It's just I am Elias. It's not a joke about him not being with WWE. It's a joke about him having to change his name. But anyway, right.
But
let me get this.
Reading it is that when you think, oh man, that sucks.
I don't know. You're gonna really make me feel guilty. Okay, so it says, from drifting onto the scene to WrestleMania, John Cena and The Undertaker, to millions around the world for Walking with Elias, a #1 iTunes album, and to being my own younger brother, Zeke. Oh, he's pulled back the curtain there. While traveling the world, it's been a blast. God is good. Now, that's a lovely statement, and it is a real shame. And when you look at that, like, some incredible career highlights, I think overall, I'll be honest, I think Elias is probably the most shocking one. Yes, he's not really being used at the moment. And yes, the Zeke thing went a bit strange. But if you look at the careers of all these people, Elias was definitely the most utilized out of all of them. And definitely the one breaking into that main event scene at one point, it would seem. Because he was working in and around that scene with those wrestlers. As he mentioned, having time with Cena, Undertaker. I even only recently saw the clip of them in, I can't remember which town it was, where they kind of... ragged on their sports team and got massive heel heat.
That was him
and Kevin Owens.
Owens.
Yeah. I only saw that clip come up recently as well. So, and even then, I was thinking, wow, like, this guy was massively involved in storylines and over. We've got a few kind of rumors in here, which I see in the chat, which it surfaces right now. I appreciate your comments and stuff. I'm not going to bring them up on the video just yet, because we don't want to kind of jump into speculation or who we kind of think should get released or anything like that. I don't want to kind of spread misinformation. I know what you're saying is that you assume and these are rumors, and I appreciate your comment for you joining us, but I don't want to kind of confuse anyone that tunes in late and maybe think someone is gone. It's official news, because it isn't the case at the moment. But yeah, there are, names that you might be thinking, surely these are next, if you're looking at the kinds of people that have been released. But as I said earlier on when we started the stream, I really hope that that isn't the case, and that this is all we're gonna be saying bye to as far as the WWE goes at the moment. But some big names in that, again, even though that they haven't been used recent. No way Shelton Benjamin's gone.
Oh my,
no way.
That is, man. That.
He says, I've been released from my WWE contract. I thank WWE staff, talent, and of course the fans for everything. Something ends, something new begins. Looking forward to my next chapter. That one is heartbreaking.
Hurts, man.
Genuinely one of the best wrestlers, like talking wrestlers, in WWE's history, for his style of wrestling at least. Right. A very, very frustrating one there. Instant thoughts, mate, on Shelton B getting let go.
Oh man, I was expecting, like, with everything that was going on with Bobby Lashley, I was thinking we're gonna get like the Hurt Business back together. You know, I thought it was coming. Like I could, you know, with him running around with Tez and Dawkins at the moment, and you know with
Yeah.
Cedric. You know, when you're thinking this is going to be another stable, this is going to be it's developing. Man, I mean, I say this. I want to look at a positive thing though. Since he's been back, it hasn't been the greatest run. Let's be honest, right?
The start of it
He's had
was really good.
moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, someone like Shelton Benjamin, I don't want to say this compared to everyone else. I feel that's wrong, but in comparison to someone like Top Dollar to Shelton Benjamin, as a draw for a name, Benjamin could go to Japan or anywhere else and still be over. Top Dollar would have to rebrand himself, kind of like how Big Cass did,
I think for a lot of these guys, it's a new opportunity elsewhere. For someone like Shelton, it's kind of like coming in and being that elder statesman and helping. I mean, I'm not sure if that would be the case because I think, again, I watched an interview of Shelton recently with Chris Van Vliet, and it was really interesting hearing his kind of opinions on his career and stuff like that, and just kind of, you know, the 20-year celebration they did, apparently didn't even know that was going to be a thing. Shawn Michaels outright called him a future Hall of Famer for when he's ready to kind of hang up his boots and all that. You know, I speculate now, will this be the time he hangs up his boots? I mean, last time he got let go, he did incredible stuff in ROH, of course, which is now under the AEW banner. I wouldn't mind seeing him there. Is there a possibility we see the world's greatest tag team get back together? And, you know, but then at the same time, we got to be honest with ourselves, Shelton's towards the end of his career at the moment. Not that I don't think he can continue to go, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had a short run and sadly hangs up his boots because, as you say, this return to WWE, especially in the last few months, it hasn't really been much. And I think this is going to be one that breaks a lot of the wrestlers as far as people backstage. It's going to be very upset when it comes to, you know, morale. I mean, it always is but judging by from what I hear, what people think of Shelton backstage, I think this one's going to really hit people hard. But letting go of Shelton is a real disappointment for me because, you know, we talk about him being a legend in his past career, but even the current run, the beginning of it, the Hurt Business and all that kind of stuff, the stuff with Brock Lesnar in the Rumble was fantastic. What a moment. But the Hurt Business stuff, that's the kind of thing we've all been crying out for. Why is Lashley working with the Street Profits when he could easily be with, you know, Shelton and the rest of the Street Profits? Rest of the Hurt Business. Why can't we be doing that instead? I don't like the Street Profits and I want them to be involved in a prominent thing as well. Why can't we get the Hurt Business? Even like a year ago where they flirted with it, why didn't we get it? Why have we not got a Hurt Business back together? And it's led to a situation like this. It is money. They're leaving money on the table with a story like the Hurt Business. One of the best things we've seen in WWE in the last 5 years, and they're deciding not to utilize them. It makes no sense whatsoever, and it leads to a situation like this.
Yeah, I agree. To me, they reminded me, and I'll probably get slated in the comments for this, but if they would have progressed a lot more the way they did, obviously we had Bobby as a champion. Am I right in thinking that Shelton and Cedric were tag champions?
I'm sure they were, yeah.
Someone in the comments let us know if that was correct or not. Obviously, I don't want to give the wrong information, but I think I remember them having them. But bro, they could have been in line to be like the new Evolution. They had that persona about them. They wore suits. They were all business until they got in the ring, and then they were more business. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they had so much credibility, and you know they were done well with merch. Bringing in an actual tag team and bringing another 2 guys in, do you know what I mean? Along with the 4 guys that were there.
You got to remember the period they did this in as well. They did it in, you know, the kind of pandemic era, you know.
It's one of the best things in the pandemic era.
Exactly, yeah. Like they deserve to have this in front of fans and kind of get another go at it. I mean, it felt like lightning in a bottle with that group, and they've completely let it just slip. You know, it's like, again, the argument can always be that they don't use such and such at the moment. Well, it makes sense they're not being used. Well, this is what it leads to.
Dolph Ziggler has been released.
No way! What? Are you kidding me?
No.
Look, again, another example of someone not being used, and you could say, okay, fair enough. But no, like, this is a guy who... who's reporting this? I can't see
Sean Ross Sapp.
Sean Ross Sapp has said it. Okay.
And obviously, he's quite legit with all of his stuff.
He gets his news. He gets his news.
He does, yeah.
Wow. Sean Ross Sapp reports Fightful has learned that former World Heavyweight Champion Dolph Ziggler has been released by WWE. Another big call. All right, this is coming in thick and fast, guys. We're jumping all over the place, but and forgive us for that because there are so many people to talk about. Dolph Ziggler being released, mate. Your first thoughts on that one?
Bro, I mean, if you go back and watch the when this stream's over, you just see my jaw drop when I read it. I was like, no way. I mean, yes, he's not being used. I wouldn't put him as in that group of cutting the fat because he's great. I mean, he was only recently down in NXT doing stuff there, with Braun and that. I mean, and it was Chris Van Vliet was talking to Dolph about it, and
yeah,
and he was so passionate. I was thinking that's great. Like you could bring that back to the main. Like the Raw or SmackDown, when Braun comes up, that's something you can revisit. Nothing. But I just don't understand how you can let people go that a leader's there.
A huge asset to the company.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. Do you know what? When you're angry because it's certain. Like I mean, anyone that losing their jobs, yes, it's upsetting. But I think it's especially when it's people that we've really followed, from him being with Vicky Guerrero, or even Spirit Squad, or being the caddy for Chavo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the progression and where he's been to being a champion. I mean, you were there at the moment he cashed in, on the Raw after Mania.
Yeah, one of the best moments live is one thing for me, but I think as wrestling fans overall, it's seen as one of the greatest cash-ins. It doesn't mean you're going to keep someone like that on your roster forever. Don't get me wrong.
No.
But at the same time, it's still weird. Like as you say, he's an asset to the company. You could do a lot. And it's proven by his run in NXT. The weird thing about Ziggler is that we, over the years, had felt like, 10 years ago, I would have been saying Ziggler's underutilized. 10 years ago, when he was world champ. Maybe just before that or around that, underutilized. And it's crazy thinking back then, the idea was like, he could go somewhere else and do something. Now it's like, just like Shelton Benjamin, he's kind of up there in his years. He's been around for a long time. It's not about him leaving and finally getting that opportunity in AEW. It'd literally just be like, why would you not have a good hand? Like it's more like Christian going to AEW than it is like Rusev going to AEW, in the sense of Shelton and Dolph Ziggler. But Ziggler is a massive miss. Like I think he was never going to be world champion again in WWE. I think the damage in the past 5 years probably means he'd never be AEW champ now. But like he still deserves to be.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, even at one point they put stock in him purely because he was the lone survivor in Survivor Series.
Yeah, man.
Do you remember? And they never. What did they do from that? They done nothing from that. Oh, mate. When you're angry and you don't know what to say because you don't want to say the wrong thing. Obviously, we're live as well, right? If it was off it, I'd be.
Watch yourself.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, bro. I really.
It's a disappointing one. Okay, let's look through some of the ones we've seen so far. We'll bring it up on the bottom of the screen again. Let's start with we've talked a little bit about Ziggler and Shelton there, but let's go back to Mustafa Ali. What do you see Ali doing next?
Oh, do you know what? This is the part for us, or at least for me, where I think, do you know what? These guys are so talented. This is where they're going to get over. Like, this is where they're going to go, and it's going to be something incredible. I know we can put them anywhere, and I don't. It's always the case of the grass. It's not always greener in AEW or whatever like that. However, I would like to see Ali join AEW and be a part of the Malachi Black kind of scenario. Okay. That, I mean, for me, that sounds like he could fit in there really well. He's had that kind of persona. Not a lot, but he's had that kind of, and he understands how to do that. With the hacker gimmick that he kind of had that went into Retribution. So I don't know. I could see him going there. I mean, he's a great wrestler. I mean, even if we don't get that, Ray Phoenix has literally just become a champion. So the feuds that he could have with some of those guys going back and forward, and coming in as a heel, it'll be good. I think I can see him going there.
That's the thing about Ali. It's like, what character do you go with? Because of course, I think his most successful period is the bit just before he got injured, going, and leading to Kofi Mania. That was the most successful period. But is that where we see him go? Does he go back to that kind of thing, or is it seen as that's an old character now? We don't do that kind of face mask thing and all that.
See, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because like for me, I preferred him, and I think I'm just one of like a handful, but I preferred the Retribution thing. Like maybe not the entire gimmick of having Slapjack and whoever else,
Whatever their names were,
Mr. T-Bar and whatever, but just him on his own as that. Maybe have like a couple cronies, kind of how I'm trying to think, Dark Order, where they have people with them, like all masked up. It could just be anyone. Kind of that kind of thing. So like Ali having that kind of persona. I mean, if he done that in AEW, he could even join Dark Order. Like he has the ability to do something like that. So I would think going a more of a darker route with his character, and putting on amazing matches. I think the place for Ali would be AEW. And I want to see a dark card. I want to see a babyface Ali for a while. I want to see a heel Ali.
Yeah,
something because it's something to prove as well, especially with leaving WWE.
I think the thing is though, you come into anywhere, you want the pop first, isn't it? So even if they come in as a heel, they got to kind of start it as a babyface, I guess, in the sense that you get that surprise. I think you're right. I think going to AEW is a good shout. I know that's the easy thing, isn't it? And I guess we'll try not to be all AEW with our predictions here, but I think someone like Ali, who's definitely in his prime, and one of those examples of someone that has a lot to prove, and there's plenty of opportunity out there for him to be a top tier talent. I think going to AEW, he kind of fits that in that sense. Where do you see Elias going?
See, that's a hard one for me because I don't know. Because
it depends on the character. Because if he's Elias, I think Impact.
Yeah, I think that's an Impact, definitely an Impact.
It feels like the place for him. But I feel like AEW, I think because of his style is completely different to someone like Mustafa Ali. I think AEW fans might not take to him straight away. He'd have to kind of be a different character, even though like he was massively over, and it's not like smart marks don't like him, but he's just a very different kind of character. So I actually would like to see him try out Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, I can see him going to Impact. That's one of the things that he could do really well with, I think, because Impact's slowly growing. Like, it is getting better. And for those who say it isn't, you're wrong, because I'm sorry, but you're wrong. It's good. Like, it's getting a lot better. And obviously, at some point, we've discussed this on air that we want to start trying to cover
more Impact Wrestling,
their Impact Wrestling, their pay-per-views, PLEs, whatever they call them. But man, him going there would be really good, especially as I said, the fans are starting to grow. They've got some good seller superstars in there already. And I think he would be a really good, because the thing with Elias is he could 1 minute he's a babyface and he'll say one thing and switch to a heel. And he done that so often on the microphone. You'd pop for him, you did a walk with Elias, you cheer for him, and then you say something about you and everything, and then you're booing him. And he has that mentality and that ability to talk on a mic. So going to somewhere like Impact I think he could make a noise, like an actual noise. But do we get him as Elias? I mean, how's that go? Do you know what I mean? Like, do we get Elias, or do we get the Drifter back?
Yeah, or do we get Zeke?
I mean, I hope not.
I'm going to bring up a tweet here from Sean Ross Sapp, quite an interesting one. It says, kind of touching on what we were saying just a moment ago. It says, nope, not that one there. That's an old one. Let's refresh and bring this up. Bear with me just a moment. It says, one top star told Fightful Select that most of the list of releases barely had a chance considering they weren't booked, and called it a circle that couldn't be escaped. And that's kind of, what we touched on with the person you can see right underneath that of Shelton Benjamin. If they booked him in the Hurt Business, there would be no reason to let him go. And I don't want to get into conspiracy here or anything like that, but I do think that sometimes they know that. you know, certain people, they know they're not going to book because they think long term they have nothing for them, so they'll let them go in that sense. You know, it's a real shame. Anyone that's joined us, by the way, guys, let us know in the comments what you think of these releases. Who are you most disappointed to see let go? Who are you most shocked by with these releases as well? And where do you think they're going to end up? Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I was going to say, look, obviously we know it's a sad day because everyone's losing, you know, their jobs essentially. But we don't want to try and just be negative about it. So also, while you're commenting about who you're upset about, I want to see like more positive comments, your favorite moments from them, things they've done, where you could see them going and blossoming and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, it's already negative, and the last thing we want to do is talk more negativity. Obviously, it's a negative conversation that we're having.
It is, yeah.
But we need positivity in it, you know, like the New Day, spread some power of positivity. So obviously bring that to the chat as well.
And with that in mind, actually, it's a perfect little time to segue. I've got a
You're
little
welcome.
kind of thank you. It's almost like you knew, but I know you didn't. But it is a tweet from Matt Cardona, which is a really, really interesting one. It says, "To those who were just released, this can be the end of your career, or it can be the beginning. Look yourself in the mirror and decide. I promise you the work and the money is out there. It's not easy. It's a grind. It's a hustle. It's frustrating. But it also can be incredibly rewarding in more ways than one if you work your ass off. I hope to see a lot of you down the road." That's a lovely sentiment, lovely tweet there from Matt Cardona. And I make him right. It's a great point. Actually, with that in mind, we actually released a video on this channel about the possibility of Cardona heading back to WWE because we really dove into the incredible rebuilding that he's had. And again, this is let this be a kind of motivator, as Cardona says there. We're talking about him, and it shouldn't be, oh, you know, work it just to get back. Not everybody wants to go back, and it doesn't work out that way for everyone. But as he says, there is money to be made on the independent scene, and people like Cardona, people like Drew McIntyre, who we also talk about in that video, by the way, you know, are kind of examples of that, shining examples. And it doesn't always mean they go back. Again, we're speculating in that video, me and Rob in the studio, whether or not he's going to head back and whether or not he'll be a version of Zack Ryder or Matt Cardona. And of course, I encourage you to check that out. Cheap plug. But it is kind of highlighting that fact, as he kind of backs up in the tweet as well, Rob, that there is money to be made out there, and the wrestling independent scene is completely different to what it was 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's so different. And do you know what? As the likes of, and people like Cody, when he went, so he asked for the release, right?
Yeah.
So people like Cody, then you got like the Young Bucks, Omega, people like Colt Cabana. All these guys were, other than Cody, I would say, was a part of a big company, right? Like, so Cody was a part of a big company. All the other guys were, they always done like indies, or I hate calling it indies, but they always done like them sort of shows. Then they were big in Japan, and then it kind of grew and things like that. And AEW was formed. But you're right. I mean, if Cody can go to somewhere and wrestle, you know, like his WrestleMania thing on his belt, he had places where every company that he had wrestled was stitched, or, you know, embedded into his belt. And that just goes to show that he grew himself, redeveloped, rebranded, exactly as Cardona said, and then got himself somewhere where he needed to be. Obviously, that was AEW, and then jump back to WWE.
Yeah.
But you know, everyone can do it. It's just you got to, obviously, I know timing is always one thing, but man, if a dude can get over doing that thing with a pizza, if you remember him, not bashing him. I mean, he's great. Luigi, I think his name is.
Yeah.
But if he can get over doing that, and it's
there
with
are
a
ways
pizza,
to do it. Yeah,
exactly, man. There's always something new.
Blue Cane as well, another example. You know, we spoke
Love
about
Blue
that
Cane
on this channel as well. So check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, good examples. Like, yes, there is ROH and AEW. Yes, there is Japan. Yes, there is Impact. But there's a lot of other work out there as well. And a lot of companies that are growing. Some of the companies that Cody ironically had on his belt have since fallen because of WWE. You know, companies, especially over here in the UK, have been stamped out. But there's still a lot of opportunity out there, still a lot of room to grow and kind of move away from this kind of complacency that I'm sure some of them would have felt, and this been, you know, creatively stifled as well. Now these people can finally get out there and be like, this is the vision I want for myself. And hopefully, and like I say, sometimes it doesn't work out with timing and things like that, but there are plenty of opportunities out there. Sadly though, Brian Alvarez has tweeted that within WWE, It says that within WWE, it is believed NXT cuts are coming around 5 ET, which to us is 10 o'clock, I believe. So just under 5 hours away from time of recording, it seems there are going to be some NXT
schedule
cuts.
that for now?
Maybe, yeah, maybe we might have to. At least they've given us a heads up with this one. It is awkward kind of getting this news and going live as quick as we can. But yeah, we appreciate anyone that's joined us again, whether it is live or on demand. And as Rob said, we'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to know what you think of the kind of big news that's breaking in the wrestling world at the moment. Let's get back to some of the names we mentioned earlier on, Rob, and where we can see them kind of headed. Next up would be Rick Boogs. Again, I mentioned earlier on, like, it is one I'm massively disappointed about, because I mentioned on that WWE 24 of the WrestleMania where he got injured and he was teaming with Nakamura. I do think he was someone that had incredible charisma, a fantastic physique, and just a lot going for him, really. And it's a real shame. And again, I know it's easy to say at the moment, well, what's he doing? But it also shows that when he had something to do, he was pretty over,
Yeah. Do you know what? I am so shocked how Boogs and Elias were never put together as a team. Like both playing guitars, both singing. Like, do you know how great that would be? Obviously, I know in WWE it would have been amazing.
Was that for a bit though? I thought.
I don't know. I can't. I really can't remember.
Well, this is the point, though. If they did it, it weren't meaningful. It weren't on any shows we were watching. I'm sure I saw something.
Do you know what I mean? That's something that would have been great. Imagine the idea of Elias taking Boogs under his wing, and explaining, okay, they say you do this, you get this. Like, I can see that happening in Impact. I mean, I can see both of them going there and becoming a tag team.
Becoming a guitar tag team.
Yeah. They literally call themselves like the Guitar Heroes or something like that.
Oh, I like that.
There you go. You can take that one for free. But do you know what I mean? Just something like that.
Yeah. Laura's joined us, says, well, I never thought Ziggler would be let go. He's like the most loyal WWE talent ever. Genuinely shocked. Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, he talked loyalty. He's a guy that's, as Rob said earlier on, went down to NXT, put over the young guy, in Bron Breakker. Really, really shocking to see Ziggler go. I think that is probably the most shocking one. But even within that, it's understandable. Well, not understand. It's, again, they're not being used. The biggest names here: Ziggler, Benjamin, and probably in roughly the order we've kind of put it in there, if I'm honest. At least for the most part. But like, those are the big shocks, but they're also not being used at the moment, So, but as we said earlier on, there was no reason not to do the Hurt Business. There is no reason for that. Even if you can't find a place for them on Raw or SmackDown, put them on NXT, as we've been saying as well throughout the string for a lot of these talents. Why is Emma not on doing something on NXT? Why is she not the one challenging Becky Lynch to give her a bit of a credibility again? Why is Riddick Moss not doing something after that massive storyline he had with Baron Corbin? Why,
and he won that
badly. Yeah, it was good. I remember being impressed by his finisher. I don't get what more he could have done.
I don't know, but that's the thing. A lot of these guys, they do. What's annoying is they go out, they do their performance, right? We see it and we think that's great. That's what we want as fans. People in their back go, no, I didn't like it. Now I understand. Look, from a business point of view, they are the professionals. They understand everything about everything when it comes to wrestling, right? But as fans, you don't see how we see it, and I think they never think of it as that way. So yeah, Riddick Moss, he wasn't the best wrestler, but he could have been something. Do you know what I mean? Like, mold him with something. I mean, they done all this stuff with JBL and Baron Corbin. How do we know that wouldn't have worked with JBL and Riddick Moss? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I know it's always a what if, and that's not the case. But sometimes certain people have a moment, and you need to, as you said, like a lightning in a bottle. You got to capture it and
take advantage of it. Yeah,
Moss was on that road going forwards. Then we got him with Emma, and I was like, great, they've got a couple together. They're gonna do something, And how we didn't get a feud with like Miz and Maurice, and with those two,
what a way to
dominant couple, Seth and Becky.
Like, that's it. It's right there. It's right. It's not like Miz has been super busy and things. Like, he had a decent feud with LA Knight, which I thought has been quite good. But like, See, that's an example. LA Knight right there. There is a scenario where he's on this list because a few months ago he wasn't being used. I think the rest of the world will go mad.
So scared to see that.
But they've done strange things like that before. Obviously, hoping that's not going to be the case. Hoping this is all of them. There are rumors again that 5 p.m. ET, 10 p.m. over here in the UK, we're going to get some from NXT. But yeah, speaking of NXT, like someone that I just didn't really see much of since they came up from NXT is Aalyiah. What are your thoughts on Aalyiah being let go? Apparently, she hasn't even had a SmackDown TV appearance this entire calendar year. So really not done much since her call up in 2021 anyway. What are your thoughts on her being released and what are your thoughts on her potential future?
Look, I think certain people you're shocked by. Aalyiah, as you said, hasn't done much. But then again, that's not her fault.
And again, why is that? We'll never know. This is it. Politics backstage, and maybe they aren't as good as we think because, yeah, like you say, these are experts backstage. So maybe there are things they've been covering for we don't realize. But it's hard to know when she ain't been on TV for a year.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the point. And I think, do you know what? Again, I don't want to bring it back to when we had the very first budget cuts during the COVID time, and you know who I'm talking about. But you could have paired her with someone and made something happen and made it really organic and grown from that.
Yeah.
Then you got someone there for the women's tag team titles. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to be rude or disrespectful, but anyone could have held them women's tag team titles and it would have been a lot better than Ronda and Shayna because they won them, then lost them. And now what's happened with the women's tag team titles now? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, you've got all these women on the show. You want to make women's wrestling credible. Now, I'm not saying make it just a women's show because annoying as it is, I would happily watch it. I watch NXT, Raw, SmackDown. Do you know what I mean? Like, what happened with 205 Live? Exactly the same thing. It started, it became its own thing. People started leaving because they didn't care. So, and that's the thing with the women. Like, they had the Evolution thing. Amazing. It was so good to see just a women's pay-per-view. And now, I don't think we'll ever get that again. And I think there's the likes of Aalyiah would fall into that category of, I don't always get TV time. But on this pay-per-view, I was in a battle royal. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I think that is the last time she was actually on TV. I think was the Royal Rumble.
It's just annoying. Like, I hate the fact that they have a women's division and they only utilize certain people. And I understand the spotlight isn't for everyone, and some people are there just to make someone else look good. And I respect that. That's
as you said earlier, not everyone's going to be world champ, but there are positions for these people.
I don't understand.
Barry Allen comes in strong with a Y. Ziggler, why they released Dolph. Barry, thanks for joining us, mate. I recognize that name, so I appreciate you coming back.
It's the Flash. It's back again.
And as you say, we're all shocked by the Ziggler one. We've touched on it. If you just joined us live now, we've touched on it a bit already with Ziggler, and I'm sure we'll circle back round to him in a bit as well. But if you are joining us live, once we come off the air, feel free to go back and check out what else we've been talking about with some of these other guys as well. But yeah, a big shock, Ziggler. I think we touched on it again, just saying how much he's been there for so long and done so much for the company and seemingly not really complained about it either, as far as kind of, being the mat that people walk over at times and really kind of, excelling and getting over young talent. As Barry says here as well, Dolph Ziggler is their most loyal. I think Zoil. Also, he's in that kind of camp with the Miz, someone that you could at any time. I know Lucas likes to say it all the time. At any time, you can put Miz anywhere you want on the card and make it believable. I think Dolph Ziggler is one of those as well, and it's
I agree.
It's a real shame.
Touching on the Miz, obviously, but I'm not saying he's been released, so I don't think that at all. I was going to just mention the stuff with Ziggler. Bro, the feud that Ziggler and the Mid has with the IC title and Maurice getting in and spraying him in the eyes with mace or perfume or whatever it was, that was one of my favorite times. And before we had the Gunther thing, which I love, Miz made that IC title credible. And when it was Ziggler going against him, other than the cash-in and that whole build-up for that moment when Ziggler was Money in the Bank, that was probably one of my favorite Dolph Ziggler times. It was the Mid title. It was for something, they made something important, and it was so good. Like, it was so good. So letting someone like that go baffles me. Like,
that was a while ago.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, but you made something of nothing. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like the whole of his boot coming off and then faking that, like shades of Eddie Guerrero from that, you know, being sprayed and then cut. Just the whole thing, it was done so well. It produced so well. You know, that's something you could have. You could have someone like Ziggler go, do you know what? I'm done with my in-ring career. I can go to NXT. I can help them guys over there.
Yeah.
Same as Shelton Benjamin. That's someone else. Like, if you ever said, oh, we're looking for people to help grow, nurture, and really push our talent to the next level. How are these two guys not in that list?
I guess the argument could be that they've got people doing that job already. There are several people already, even younger than them, you know, thinking Jason Jordan.
Yeah.
Who else did I see recently who's been doing? TJ, yeah. And then people from the outside, Abyss and people like that as well. So I don't think that these opportunities won't be there for them in the future. I think Shelton and Dolph are the kind of guys that I could see coming back in 4 or 5 years' time to do that kind of role. Maybe that role's just not there for them at the moment. You know, they just talk to someone like Big Show who says, you know, that's what they basically offered him and he didn't want it, you know. So maybe not yet at least. So maybe these are still possible guys to show up in AEW. Speaking of which, I just want to get to another set of tweets here. Again, this coming from Sean Ross Sapp, of course, a great insight. You know, someone for someone who gives great insight to these kind of scenarios because of the context he's got. But Sean Ross Sapp said just 4 minutes ago, many WWE talent we spoke with thought that after last year and a half or so, the WWE was going the AEW route of just letting contracts expire as opposed to mass cuts. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. You'll also see just underneath that tweet as well from Big E talking about Dolph Ziggler, of course, a big part of his career. We mentioned earlier. Yeah. Time when Ziggler cashed in and E was with him, so was AJ. Says, I was so immensely fortunate to start my time on the main roster next to Ziggler. I learned so many lessons about this craft by watching and listening. One of the smoothest workers I've ever been in the ring with. Thank you for everything you've done for me, Zigman. I mean, that's when it really does start to hit home, as you said. Like he's the guy there who really has helped so many talents, even when he was a young talent, you know, even when that was in the time. Yes, he was world champion, but let's be honest, Rob, he never was the kind of world champion and kind of top tier superstar that he should have been. Not just could have been, should have been. He was never given that opportunity.
I always look at Ziggler as he was and when I say this, it doesn't mean it in one way, but he was the fans champion. And obviously everyone's always the fans champion. Like Roman is a fans champion. But I mean, we had love for Ziggler.
Yeah.
And we really, I mean, from being the heel to being a babyface to the change, transition, carrying a briefcase, being a show off, you know, Mr. Steal Your Girl, all that stuff. Like, we see him grow. For them to have that moment and win the briefcase, win the briefcase, then cash in to a huge pop, by the way, is kind of, I will put it in that it's that category of Mankind finally winning a title. Like,
it was huge.
Do you know what I mean? It's like
huge.
And that's not a comparison, but I think if there's a category for certain people that win a title and it's a huge moment, it's like that. Like the same thing with, do you remember when Santino Marella was, I think, the last guy left in the chamber or last guy in the Rumble? Like he had them, and you know, you think, oh, he's gonna do it, he's gonna do it. Like, it's that moment. Kofi, another one that falls into that category. You know, I just. Yeah,
I think I was thinking, how do you describe them? Are they just like biggest pops? And I was like, no, I think you've kind of put it down to like greatest moments. Like it's literally as good as that. It's like one of the best moments in wrestling history, at least in the modern era, is when Dolph Ziggler won that title and cashed in. It's like it's not just one of the best Money in the Bank cash-ins. It's up there as one of the best moments in WWE history, in my opinion. Again, I know I'm biased because I was there, but like it was that good. Like you say, it was lightning in the bottle. People were so behind Dolph at the time. Barrier, again, upset at Ziggler saying it's amazing. His release is like to be Miz. So, excuse me, hold on. Release is Miz to be released. I don't think Miz is going to get released. I mean, that would be a massive shock. So angry, Barry says as well. Go ahead.
Sorry. So Sean Ross Sapp has obviously on his Twitter. Do we still call it Twitter? I don't know.
We are. Screw it.
We are. Yeah. There is annoyingly a fake account to do with Sean Ross Sapp. I know he has just retweeted it, so this isn't confirmation. But he's talking about Liv Morgan, and it's a fake, bogus thing. So from as far as we know at the moment,
joke.
Yeah. So as far as the moment, that isn't confirmed. We're not confirming that. I'm just telling you exactly what it is. So
Yeah,
not that I
I saw
like to
in
be
the
that guy,
comments
but
Barry was mentioning Liv there and saying that
yeah,
hope she's okay if that's the
yeah,
case. And of course, thankfully, Barry doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, you don't want to with anyone, but yeah, someone like Liv would.
yeah, exactly.
It'd be crazy if that was.
My advice would be like, look, just report the account. Obviously, that's spreading fake news.
Yeah,
Just,
I mean, it's ridiculous. How could anyone do that? Pretend that someone got fired. It's such ridiculous. Like, what? You're going to get extra followers like that? Are people going to really stick around for you? Like, will it really work? You twat. Anyway,
see that
anyway,
anger, that
I'm
anger.
moving away from some professionalism there, Rob, but a little bit annoyed by that. But anyway, hey, it's good to laugh on a difficult day, isn't it? I mean, it's a real shame, and we just want to kind of bring your attention once again to that tweet that Matt Cardona said earlier on. This is an opportunity for a lot of these guys to go out there and make a different kind of money and have a different kind of opportunity. So, really do hope it will be the case. Let's go back to some of the other ones. And again, if you're watching live or on demand, we really do appreciate it. I know we're kind of joining you on a bad day here for many people, wrestling fans as well, not just the people losing their jobs, but us as fans. You know, we are missing out on the opportunity to see more Dolph Ziggler in the WWE, missing out on the opportunity of what Rick Boogs could have been, missing out on the opportunity of someone like Emma and not really having that return to the women's roster and being utilized in a way she definitely could have been. Barry, just to quickly jump on, Barry says Liv is top star. She needs to win the Rumble. Oh man, if they're releasing all these people because of Roman versus Rock. Yeah, I don't think, I guess what money is that what you're wondering about? The money? I don't think that is the case. I hope not. And Cody's screwed. We'll talk plenty more about The Rock, Cody Rhodes, and all that in the future, Barry. I know you'll stick with us for that when we hopefully be covering Fastlane very soon as well. Go on, Rob. What was you going to say?
So yeah, like I said, I don't want to. It's kind of like this thing. Do you remember the last time we had budget cuts? All these people kind of got released, and then they kind of hired a couple people back, and we was like, how can you release this person for bringing in this? But and I know. Even on the first year, I was like, I'm not looking at it as that way, but it feels like it's that way. And again, I'm not saying that it's this. It's
hard not to see,
but Cena comes back, The Rock's now back. Batista all of a sudden said that he'd be willing to do a return if the story's right because he's got time. I was like, yeah, you may have time, but these guys have been putting their asses in every day in, day out, and I understand that they were there. Rock's tenure was only like 4 or 5 years, and I understand that, but. Yeah. I mean, Dolph Ziggler's been there longer than The Rock. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and I understand it's a draw, but we need to kind of look at it from, okay, they've come back for a specific thing at this moment in time. And yes, there is budget cuts, but it's really hard to not split your mind between, well, they got rid of these people because they brought The Rock back. And I understand people are going to look at it that way. And it's hard not to. Do you know what I mean? It's very hard not to. So, just try and be positive, guys. As we said, like, just be positive. I know it's hard, and obviously we're going to try and stay on as long as we can with, updating more releases and stuff like that. But
yeah, if more do come in, and again, hopefully not, but we'll cover the ones that have already. Again, we're going to move back round now to Emma. What do you see Emma doing? Again, I think she's another great example. She could easily go back to Impact for a time there, and we always say Impact seem to really utilize their women's roster quite well. But I think the opportunity is still there for her to maybe go to AEW, seeing that, as I always say, is a division that really kind of could do with a few more names and a few
Emma, was you saying?
Emma, yeah, and then maybe a better kind of booking there as well. Of course, with Jade Cargill, the rumor of her going to WWE soon. There's a slot opening up potentially on the women's roster. So yeah, what do you think for Emma?
I think go back to Impact, man.
Yeah,
that knockout division is up there. Like, there's names in there. I mean, look at. I'm trying to think how the transition that we've had from how it was before, when it was like we had like the knockout Mickey James and all that sort of stuff. Then it kind of went through this like really like weird phase, and it wasn't as great. Impact was kind of going through a really bad phase altogether. It's now growing, and someone like Emma that's she's been at Impact.
This is like you said, this is I think the most hype Impact's had for a while. So for a lot of these guys, I think it's a very viable option that, is creatively speaking. I don't know how money works out there, don't get me wrong, but I think creatively speaking, this is a good place for people to kind of set their sights. Quickly get to a few comments here as well. Daniel Wiley says, I can see Ali going to AEW or Impact. Yeah, we mentioned the same. Yeah, Impact. I think we did mention AEW more for Ali, but thanks for joining us, Daniel, once again. But yeah, I could see him slightly more Impact as well, especially in a quite prominent role. Barry, however, says Ali would never get that top level. Sorry, he says. Not really a fan of Ali, it would seem, but is a fan of Dolph Ziggler, as we know, by saying had the most memorable cash-in, as we mentioned earlier on as well. But going back to Emma, Rob, I agree with you. I think Impact is somewhere she would certainly thrive. But the AEW option, do you think that is a good thing for AEW or for Tanel, as I guess we should call her again now?
You should, I think, go back. Can she just be as Emma? Is that
No, what, a name, you mean? A character?
Yeah, just as a name. Like, obviously.
Yeah, it's hard to copyright a name like Emma, surely, but she was using her own Tanel
yeah.
wasn't
I
it?
think, look, no matter where she goes, we know who it is. That's that kind of like Cardona. She's now in that position where, same as Paige, like going to Soraya, like we know who it is. Do you know what I mean? It's not like again, I don't want to say this to be disrespectful, but Top Dollar, if he changed his name, you'd be like, oh, it's this guy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's, and I don't want to be rude, but do you know what I mean? Like, they have had a moment on TV. They've really shone through.
Well, Emma hasn't for a long time, though, to be fair. But I think you're probably judging it more in her first run, and she made a name for herself outside WWE. Again,
definitely.
I think it will be a bit more of a challenge for Top Dollar, and it kind of depends on if he is the only one. Again, not wishing that anyone else leads with him, but when you see stable releases, but then again, Hit Road didn't have their top star in the first place anyway. Let's get on to Top Dollar. Where do you see Top Dollar going? I'll be completely honest with this one. I never really bought into Top Dollar until quite recently. I kind of started to like him a bit more. Obviously, the Michael Cole botch and all that, you know, him laughing about the botch and jumping over the ropes and all that. And I was never really a fan of his raps. Some of them kind of made me cringe and feel uncomfortable. But what I really did appreciate was how much he tried. And, you know, really, he tried to, and we've talked about this before, but like build on his storyline outside of the TV time he was getting given. Zack Ryder did the same with Z True Long Island story. Even, and I'm sure it was kind of backed more with WWE this one, but the Dominic Mysterio, Rhea Ripley showing up at Rey Mysterio's house for Christmas and Thanksgiving. Stuff like that we love to see. And there's been other great examples. And Top Dollar has done that with pretty much all of his feuds since he's been on SmackDown. He did a very heartfelt and touching tribute to Bray Wyatt as well. So I've really started to come around on this guy. Again, some of his raps and not saying I'm not a fan of rap, it's just that some of it I felt like has come across quite cheesy, but when you're getting them out weekly, it's kind of hard to, you know, do maybe. But I fully give him credit for how much he tried to make something. I think the problem for me was his character. He was having some of these raps that I didn't fully buy into, and the characters are very smug, kind of like, you know, and the way he replies to people on Twitter is very kind of like, I'm a superstar, which you got, hey, back yourself. I think it just didn't work for some of the raps I've seen going along with it. But general thoughts on Top Dollar.
Look, as I said, I don't think we got to see enough of him as him, if you know what I mean. Like, if you watched NXT, then I think you would have understood who Top Dollar was, and you know the whole thing. But I don't know this. I just think he could rebrand himself and make himself something different. Like, I don't know. It's a very hard one to kind of discuss. Obviously, every time someone talks about Top Dollar, you instantly think of, he botches. Same as, again, annoyingly, with Nia Jax. She comes back and people are talking about she's botching. Like, give them a break. I understand we spoke about it in the past, but, you know, you need to move forward. AEW done a botch the other night with Moxley and Phoenix, and do you know what I mean, on the finish, and the whole finish, it looked really bad and it ruined the end of the match. But people are talking about it, but they haven't moaned about it since. That doesn't mean Phoenix is a botch, or do you know what I mean?
He ain't gonna get that.
You have to exactly. So like, just let it go. But I don't know. I think Top Dollar, I could see him maybe going to, like, I don't want to keep saying Impact. He's someone that could go Impact, but at the same time, I think if he went to Ring of Honor and really crafted himself there, I could see him being in that position.
Even if people go to AEW, doesn't mean they're on an AEW roster. So that's a great point, actually. Kind of means we forget about the Ring of Honor because you're like, it's technically the same thing. But they do separate quite a bit with some of these talents as well. Yeah, sometimes they cross over, but some of them are more heavily featured on Ring of Honor. Maybe you're right. Maybe that is a good way to go about things. I mean, I personally would like to see Top Dollar change up his character again. Not that I'm like massive against the Rats, but I think if he went to AEW, for example, it'd be. I think he'd want to do more of that stuff, and I think it'd be hard for fans to not go. But we've already got rappers with, the Acclaim, so it's like I think that's not the place for him. Whereas if he went to Impact creatively, he could probably get away with doing more. He could probably do more what we see on his Twitter and stuff like that, which I do think would be pretty cool. In the sense that giving him, because he's clearly got that creative side of him, he's clearly got that desire to do more, but I guess that stuff never made it to TV, and some of it maybe in a good way, because like I said, some of that stuff that he produced, although I commended him for trying, it wasn't really my type of cup of tea, and I think it needed that fine tuning from someone. And maybe if he goes somewhere else and he does have too much freedom, maybe that's too many opportunities for him to fall in his face and kind of put people off even more. But again, at the same time, not saying that talent isn't there, and not saying that some of the raps and some of the verses and the rhymes weren't good. It's just that I think there were a lot of misses in it, which was a real shame. So it'll be interesting to see again whether or not he does go somewhere, and whether or not they do therefore kind of give him that opportunity to kind of be that same character again, or is the fact Max Caster is in AEW already a no-no, and maybe he goes to Ring of Honor and does that.
Well, this is the thing, and I think this is what I was going to say, like, as you were starting to talk about it. They're walking out and doing a rap gimmick. Cena done it. Worked for Cena. It was fantastic. Max now does it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not his biggest fan. And I really aren't. Like, the way they portray themselves and they produce themselves and all that stuff on the TV is amazing. But there's something about them that I still don't know what it is yet. Like, for me, I still haven't caught on to the whole scissor,
I love it.
Like, yeah, I know. And I mean, we've spoken on it. We've spoken
on it. They're right for me. They just ain't a right for you.
Yeah, but then saying that, so did Riddle. Like, it took me forever.
It took you a while, yeah.
Right. And then I got a selfie with him. So that's a 180.
Yeah.
But yeah, for someone else to come out kind of around the same and do the rap thing, I just think now, no matter what they do, it's going to be a carbon copy of the other show. And it's really hard to differentiate. Oh, AEW is doing this, so WWE is now doing this. Yeah. Oh, but they done that last month. Like, it's very much like whatever happens on Coronation Street 6 months later happens on EastEnders. Like, it's so
very British reference there. For
you're welcome. And throw in some Emmerdale for the, just to see. But yeah, it's going to be hard for them to do that. So I think, I don't think come out. I just think rebrand yourself. Now is the time for you to do that.
He's got that creativity, and again, I'm not saying it's because he's just. I think he doesn't fit in. If he goes to certain shows, he won't fit in. If he goes to other shows, he might get too much freedom. So I think the mixture of the two. So I don't know. Again, I think he is talented, and I want to see him do more. We're talking about where people were going to go, and Sean Ross Sapp has basically said that the 90-day no competes for most of the releases will be the case as well. So going to be a while before we see a lot of these guys show up, but it's a time when other wrestling promotions are definitely licking their lips.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what really annoys me? And I think speaking for the superstars, I guess and fans as of fans, it annoys me to my core when, for example, someone like Top Dollar is getting released, or Ziggler, right, getting released. And then they have the cheek to put, you can't compete for 90 days.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like,
let him go earn his money, man.
Let them go.
I think they pay him for that time, right? But
it's not the point, man.
I guess they can't. They only earn double. But you've let them go. Like, let them go.
Like, you let them.
If you don't think they're good enough, don't let them. Don't worry about them going elsewhere. Like, you don't think they're good enough to be with you.
If they weren't profitable for your company, forget them, because they're going to do it somewhere else. And if they do it somewhere else, then that was I used to,
I guess, side with them a bit more. Like, I was like, yeah, man, like, you don't want to let them go. And then, like, your shine, what you made of them is what they are now making money out of. But, like, there's the least you can do, man. Like, you let them go. Like, but I guess in the other ways, it builds intrigue. Like, if someone shows up in 3 months, 90 days, it kind of like, people are ready for it. And they're waiting for that clause to come to an end. But then on the other side of it, I guess the problem was when you had people showing up on, Nitro the next week. They don't want that either with AEW because, I mean, what is it today? We are Thursday. They could show up tomorrow on Rampage or on Saturday on Collision, which would be wild. And that would give AEW the upper hand, which is, I guess, why they do it rather than so much the talent, more about who that talent will kind of bring their benefits to.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But I think, look, there should be a clause in the release clause. So a clause, clause squared. But if they get released and it's due to something like a budget cut, I think that 90-day thing should be stopped. Like, I think it's so awful. Yeah, that's, and I mean, we're just speaking from us, but I mean, if one of us lost our job and was like, oh, you're not allowed, it's like basically saying, hey, you've lost your job, we've let you go. You're not allowed to work anywhere else for the next month or so.
Imagine if that happened in any other industry.
It's like, what do you mean? Like, I need money. And I understand that, they're taught to, well, I don't know if they're taught. Some wrestlers are frugal. They don't spend a penny. I mean, Big E has spoken on numerous podcasts that he hasn't decorated his house much. Like, he's just a simple guy. Like, minimalism. So some people like that. Others have flashy watches and cars and so on and so on and so on. But if you're going to live to the lifestyle that you've accustomed to, yes, you need to save, but don't prevent them from then earning money. Like, that isn't right, and I really disagree with it.
I guess again though, like, they're gonna get paid though. It's like a severance package or whatever. But then, as far as I know, don't quote me now. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But then, the idea is that in 3 months you've now got time to negotiate and to kind of get your chickens and eggs in order as well.
Are they?
So
are they allowed to legally start? So, for example,
I don't think it's like, because it's not like they're being tapped up or anything like that. It's, speaking of tapped up, Laura says apparently NXT releases are being announced at 5 p.m. ET, 10 p.m. BST. Sad day, so as we mentioned earlier on, it's kind of getting out there. Brian Alvarez said that it seems to be coming later on tonight, NXT. Now, while NXT names won't be as big and won't make as much of a splash as far as headlines go, I think in this day and age, because what NXT is compared to what it used to be, you don't have as many stars there anymore, but you will have a lot of people going, man, they could have been something, and that's going to be that side of it.
I've already got people in mind that I think they're going to go, but I'll put it in the chat. Obviously, the last thing we want to do is say something and they haven't gone, and then people say, oh, well, these guys did, and we didn't.
But I think tonight, imagine waiting out 4 or 5 hours now, 4 hours nearly, just to kind of hear whether or not you're getting let go. It's an awful time for these wrestlers. Things do seem to be calming down for the WWE main roster releases at the moment, so that is one good thing. But we'll stick on the stream for a little bit longer, just in case anything else does break. And while we do that, again, we'll go back to some of the names and talk about where we can see him going. So we've talked about Top Dollar there. We kind of roughly touched on Riddick Moss already. But what do you see happening there? Do you think wherever Emma goes, Riddick goes as well?
Possibly. You could maybe have them as like, as I said, going forward, a power couple, something like that. That would be really nice to see. I don't know though. Like, where does he slot in? And I'm not saying like he's just some of these guys that haven't had the ability to really showcase what they can do and like grow and nurture and be present themselves in a specific way. For example, Top Dollar. Like, it's really hard to figure out where they could go now because we don't know.
They just haven't reached that level yet. To go, well, they were like Shelton. This. And,
exactly. So it's really hard. So maybe Impact. Like, he's the sort of person that could go to Impact and maybe like become a top star. Or do you know what? Wow, he could go NWA.
Yeah, we haven't spoke about them for a while. I think they've definitely dipped, and they are kind of unfortunately a meme these days. They were
it's a shame.
It's sad. They were they had a great opportunity there to really cement themselves, and it hasn't quite worked out. But hey, certain stars joining your roster could be the thing that kind of boosts you in the right direction. Ruben here, thanks for joining us. Ruben says WWE releases, here they come. Maybe 1% of them gets proverbial AEW look. The most likely they're going to Thursday nights to make an impact. And as we've been saying, though, that's not a bad thing. Impact is really starting to kind of pick up these days. And I think around our Impact 1000 thing, they really did hype that up as well. We also written a few articles recently on Rebellious Noise's website, rebnoise.com. That's REBNOISE.com, about Impact coming over here to the UK, which I'm very excited to see as well. So hopefully we're going to have some opportunities to interview some of the talent there already as well. And you never know, maybe some new names will be popping up there for us to chat to as well. But if you haven't, guys, please subscribe. We are the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We cover pretty much pro wrestling as it sounds, all the big companies, of course, and we try and cover as much of them as much detail as we can, covering breaking news stories like this, but also getting the opportunity to interview WWE talent from over the years as well. So we'd encourage you to subscribe and check out some of that going forward. But yeah, it's a real shocking day. It really is. I just want to kind of bring back again Matt Cardona's tweet earlier on. Again, we've done a video on this channel about, you know, what it's like for someone to work outside the WWE system and maybe fight their way back. And Matt mentioned earlier on that this is a great opportunity. See it as a great opportunity for many of these guys. And that's what we're trying to touch on here, guys. We're trying to see the positive in it and see where some of these people are going to go next, because I don't see it being retiring for every single one of these. You know, you'd hope not for any of them. If anything, we said Shelton, you know, getting up there in age, Ziggler maybe, but I think, you know, Ziggler could go in more into his comedy again if he's still doing that. Shelton maybe wants to do behind the scenes stuff. It's hard to tell, but they would both be huge assets to. I mean, imagine Ziggler going for the Ring of Honor World Title or something like that. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be. This is the good thing about AEW owning ROH. It does open up the opportunity for guys like Claudio, who's been the champion until recently. You know, going there and doing stuff like that, you know. So he, you know, there's a world where he could have been WWE champ, so definitely AEW, but then that's a stacked roster already. So I think that's where the Ring of Honor side of things come in quite handy as well. So we kind of touched on Riddick and Emma together there, and Aalyiah we mentioned earlier on. It's a real shame that she hasn't been used, but I think with any woman, the stock answer probably is Impact, right? With Aalyiah,
I guess so. As you said, like there is other shows.
I think AEW need names in their women's division.
Yeah, it's such a strange thing, isn't it?
And Impacts kind of need people to build.
Yeah, exactly that. So let's say, for example, I mean, Jade's Cargill's now gone, and obviously they've got Aalyiah, Britt Baker, Sky Blue, who I think should be higher up in that women's division, in my opinion. They need. It's funny. AEW feels like at the moment. Do you remember when it was TNA at that point? WWE were releasing guys, and it was like, right, we're going to bring these guys in, really elevate it, and then elevate our own guys at the same time. AJ Styles, Abyss, to just two of them at least, and then grow them and develop them and make them the stars of tomorrow. It seems like AEW kind of in a moment are doing that. We've had Jericho, we've had Punk, they've had, you know, a few other guys kind of around that Cody, but now MJF is the champion. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like they have that kind of mindset. So for someone like Aaliyah, she doesn't fall into that category just yet.
Not yet, yeah.
But I think maybe some time at Impact, and then
I think the unfortunate thing about Impact, though, is that they do get the buzz around a lot of them, and then the wrestler leaves. It's hard for them to hold on to people. But, like, you kind of need to just get enough there at the same time. And I do think, you know, we've said it for years, Impact is a good option for women, it would seem. So hopefully it's a good option for Aaliyah as well. Just to get to a little kind of stat here. You know, we all like a stat on this channel. Apparently, Dolph Ziggler has wrestled 1,554 TV matches for WWE. Wow. That makes him the third in history as far as, you know, having the most matches in WWE TV history, at least. Will we see him on our TVs again very soon? I hope so. In the next 90 days or so, I hope to see him popping up on a show that perhaps is on Thursdays or Fridays or Saturdays or maybe even Wednesdays. Either way,
I have a stat for you, by the way.
Go on, more stats.
Yeah. So it's not about someone that was released from WWE, but obviously not in this run of releases. I don't know if you've seen it. Brian Myers, Kurt Hawkins.
Yeah.
He is I mean, he was at Raw, SmackDown, and Impact's all 1,000 tapings.
I saw that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like Mr. 1000.
Mr. 1000. Yeah, I did see that.
I mean, comment and see. Is there anyone else that's done that? I mean, I'm intrigued by it.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, because no one's really mentioned it.
He's got to stick around long enough for Dynamite's 1000th episode, hasn't he? So that's gonna
be
a long
cool,
way
man.
away. But yeah,
it's nice to see, that even that as someone else that was able to develop themselves off from WWE.
Yeah,
he grew, come back to WWE. He had a really weird kind of tenure on his second run because he lost all of his matches and then he won his big one with Matt.
Yeah, arguably his career highlight.
Yeah, exactly. Was that a Mania as well?
It was, yeah, I think. Yeah.
So that was a big moment. Obviously, he then got released. He's now doing other stuff. He's got his own like training company and stuff like that. So just because you don't have to have a big impact in a company right now doesn't mean you can't do other stuff. The likes of Tyler Breeze is another one.
Yeah,
he's an amazing trainer, and if at some point he goes back to the WWE, I'm assuming he'd go in that kind of training situation, if we were saying, or that bubble. That's someone that you think, okay, he's really good. So just because you're not being showcased on TV, it doesn't mean that a wrestler or a release wrestler isn't going to make an impact somewhere.
I think you're right. I think there, like I said, there are a lot of good examples, whether it be people just on the indies like Cardona or his partner, like Myers, who pretty much, is always on Impact. Cardona's popped up there and popped up in AEW himself. But, whatever route you want to take, there are plenty of opportunities out there for you, thankfully. Thanks to guys like Ryder and the Elite who have shown what you can do. Colt Cabana, another great person in independent wrestling history, as far as kind of, making a podcast and, the future is here, man.
Wrestling.
He is, yeah. And like,
to me, like, he is the ultimate indie wrestler.
It worked out for him when he got let go as Scotty Goldman as well. So
it did, exactly.
Yeah. So again, like, this is a sad day for wrestling fans, sad day for wrestlers. Like, and they're not going to. Some of them are going to be fired up already. Some of them are going to be relieved. Some of them are going to be absolutely distraught. Like, it's a really tough day to handle emotions for people in these kind of situations. But we're trying to kind of bring light on the fact that there is opportunity out there, and I think Matt Cardona's tweet is one of the nicest examples of that. And again, we're kind of giving examples here that we're aware of as well. Let's swing it back round, mate. Let's go to Dolph Ziggler. Where do you think he's most likely to end up?
See, I'm kind of torn with this because a part of me thinks, he could go AEW, like, and he has the ability to be an AEW world champion. Like, he really does. However, imagine if Impact snapped him up and like, it was like, you're going to be our champion. I mean, they've done it with McIntyre. They've done it with Lashley. Like, he knows how to run a company. He knows how to be a good babyface and a good heel. He could, they could really push that. There's a lot of guys in Impact that need that support. As I said, and it's a growing company. So if someone like Naomi can go over there and really start showcasing herself, I can see a few guys maybe doing that. But I think if anyone that snaps up Ziggler is
whoever gets him,
that's a
I find it a really tough one to call, because Ziggler is like, just the general vibe I've got from him from interviews and stuff like that. It comes across as if he doesn't need to do this anymore, and he's okay with it, because he's got other passions, and
comedy is one of them.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, like, Japan, like, maybe that is intriguing to him, because he wrestles a very interesting. So he's getting older now. His style will change, but like I could see him having a great match with Okada and like really, really showing off what he can do. Because we also talk about him being the best seller in WWE, make people look good and his style and stuff like that. But like, like that would be pretty fun. Like, and I think he'd have fun with that as well. Maybe he's thinking, oh man, I don't need to do that kind of stuff anymore, holding on to his neck and whatever. But like, so maybe the ship has sailed in that sense as far as stylistically. But then you look at the other side of it. His little brother is in AEW. I
was going to say,
they openly chat on Twitter, referring to each other and stuff like that. So maybe AEW is where he'd go. Again, if you said he's going to go to Ring of Honor and be world champion, I believe you. If you said he goes to Japan and wrestles Okada, I believe you. If you said he went to Impact and help the younger guys, I'd believe you. If you said he went to AEW and went in the middle of their roster, I'd believe you as well. Like, everything is doable for someone like Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
You know, he really is.
Do you know what else as well would be amazing to see? Obviously, I know it's a fantasy booking if he does go AEW, but you got the Gun brothers,
yeah.
right? You got Matt and Jeff. You also have the Elite. Oh well, should I say
the Bucks? Yeah,
the Bucks even, right? And then if you get like
the Zigglers,
like,
which I don't know they'll be called.
Yeah, whatever legally what they could be called.
Yeah,
but
Nemeth, that's his last name.
And you got Ray and Ray Phoenix and Pentagon.
You could have old brother tournament,
bro. Like, you could have like they could go through a thing of we are the best brothers in the wrestling business.
That's a lot of brothers in AEW.
AEW alone.
That's a great point.
You never know, man. That could, if that happened, like, we are the greatest brothers in wrestling business,
Yeah.
And that's something that would get over.
The Dudleys are basically kicking around saying they don't mind getting booked again after going back to Impact recently for their reunion. So you never know. But yeah, I like that idea. But again, you know, it's a bit of fun. We don't know where these people are going to end up, but that's the whole point in this. We want to kind of be optimistic about it. Again, another one, and we were live as this news broke as well. Another one of the biggest shocks for this, again, is Shelton Benjamin. And we mentioned earlier on how it could be likely that he just hangs up his boots. I hope that's not the case, because I think he deserved to have a retirement match in WWE, and that's what's frustrating about it. Like, and maybe this gives them the kick to do something elsewhere and then come back and do that. But I don't know, like, how many years he's got left to be a wrestler and how many years he wants to do this. So, what do you see with Shelton Benjamin? I actually think Ring of Honor is where I'd like to see him most, because he had a great run in Ring of Honor with Charlie Huss when he got let go before. And a Ring of Honor tag division could probably do with a bit of a boost anyway. Not saying that Charlie Huss will go. I don't even know what Charlie Huss is doing these days. Is he still wrestling? Maybe he's fully retired. I don't know. Let me look into that. But while I do that, what are your thoughts on Shelton, mate?
Look, I love Shelton. You know, from the Money in the Bank moments, the higher spots that he's done, just in general, to the world's greatest tag team, you know, being the solo guy, running with the IC title. You know, just a few of them things that just, you know, when you just think the guy is so damn good. Again, another like Ziggler. But I think if Benjamin hangs the boots up, I would say, do you know what would be perfect for him? Just send him to AEW and let him help these guys in, do it like this, do that, like, be a trainer for him, you know, like imagine him and someone like Dustin Runnels just together, you know, someone, and obviously Paul Wright being there and Henry, and that you kind of need some of these guys to really like help them go, okay, for TV, do it like this. Maybe try it like this, you know, help with background stuff. And I can see Benjamin having a good input, and the guy's got so much just wrestling knowledge in and out of the business. Like, I think that could be a good position for him, you know, starting as a trainer and then moving on from there. I mean, they've already got like veterans there, as I've said, even going towards like Jericho as well. So someone like Shelton being a part of that, really helping. I mean, let's just say Shelton Benjamin and Chris Jericho on the was it the Taboo Tuesday, called the entire match and the finish, and it was just like, what's your finish? T-bone. And I think I remember Jericho saying, Shelton said, jump and I'll do the rest. Like, if they can call an entire match on the fly, you know, they have that much experience. I'm not saying guys don't do that now, but it's a different time of wrestling, and I think those guys are a dying breed. And I think if you can get them now, you're lucky. So so whoever gets Benjamin, whether it's a backstage role or in-ring role, what a big, you know,
a big get
addition, you know. So I just want to see him. I want to see them all succeed, but where, obviously, we can only speculate.
Yeah, as I said earlier on, I think there's a lot of promoters out there at the moment licking their lips and, you know, rubbing their hands together. Someone that's also doing it seems to be Soraya. She's actually just tweeted out, "Hi at Emma WWE, wavy hand emoji and hearts around the smiley face emoji. That's the way to describe that one.
That's like a blushy one, isn't it?
No, the one with her heart. It was sort of like blushing, I guess. Just saying you're in love. So yeah, maybe she's kind of hinting, hey, come over here to AEW and
it's a big get.
It is. Again, there are a lot of talented stars here from all up and down the roster, done kind of varying things. Some of these are world champions. Some of these are one of the best IC moments ever in Benjamin. Great stuff with a pandemic era and, like you say, handing down your kind of knowledge to the future generations. And then you've got guys like Ali, who was severely underutilized for pretty much his entire run. Then you've got guys like Elias, who was massively over. We cannot deny how big he was at the time. Boogs in a similar kind of role, but as a babyface and with Nakamura, again, massively over, not used at the time after his injury. And then you've got Riddick, who we said earlier on, who had a great kind of shout in becoming something after that feud with Baron Corbin. It wasn't to be. Emma, who was so good they brought her back, but still did nothing with her. Top Dolla, who's got a lot of potential and clearly is a very, very passionate man when it comes to his creativity and his character and wrestling overall. And then you got Aalyiah, someone who's been massively underutilized, was good enough to get called up in 2021, but then seemingly got lost in the shuffle. So some great stars in the making, some great stars that have sadly fallen, but hopefully can get to new heights again. Yeah. And talking of hopes, Robert, it feels like this at the moment is the end of it as far as releases go. Again, there will be apparently some more tonight when it comes to NXT, which again is a real shame. Hopefully that isn't the case, and maybe it's a misunderstanding, but it looks like at 10 p.m. tonight UK time, 5 p.m. tonight Eastern time in the US, there will be more releases. We may come back and kind of cover some of that as well, but either way, we'll be kind of sticking our thoughts out there as far as breaking news and all the kind of big wrestling content that's coming up. We've got WWE Fastlane in a few weeks as well, which we'll be kind of covering extensively on this channel with our preview and predictions episode. Hoping to come back for that, and also our build up and hopefully a recap and review this time round as well. We didn't get to do as much as we wanted to around Payback or SummerSlam for that matter, but we are hoping to do as much as we can here. We also mentioned, again, it's a good day for WWE in the sense that they announced this incredible show going to be in Perth, 60,000 plus, going to be hopefully out of that stadium to enjoy Elimination Chamber. So we've got lots to talk about in the wrestling world going forward. But of course, this stream has been about, not the greatest news, but again, we tried to put a bit of a positive spin on it as far as where we would like to see these people go and the opportunities that we think is out there for many of these former WWE superstars, which is still a surreal thing to say, Rob, when you're looking at names like Dolph Ziggler. Yeah. But anyway, Rob, is there anything you want to say before you get out of here? And while you do that, I'll have a quick check to make sure we haven't lost anyone again.
Yeah, look, so obviously we've been talking about this for the last hour and 25 minutes, but obviously we send our support to all the wrestlers that have now lost the job. Obviously we'll be hoping that they find something and get something else in with it after their 90 days non-compete. But that is a reminder, if there is anyone that is watching that is like an indie, owns a wrestling company, and you want a star on your show, WWE have just released a few of them. So, what annoys me is they go, oh, it's a shame that it's such a big loss. Then book them. Like, they're available. Book them. If they want to come, man, like as Wayne World said, if you book them, they will come. And there's a reference for you. But yeah, man, I just want to see them all. As I said, I want to see them all do something, do well and continue making money. It's a hard business at the best of times. Being within a company, now having to be on your own again, now that's really hard. So, I just hope they all do well.
Same. I mean, we wish the best for them. And again, it's a sad day for a lot of these people in the sense that some people haven't had the opportunity. Some people kind of got given up on. And some people, when it comes to Ziggler and Shelton, I think the saddest part is that it should, in my opinion, should have been on their terms. They should have, ended their contract. If that's the case, someone could collect a check for the rest of their lives, and maybe they don't want that anyway. But either on WWE's part, so yeah, you got to, I guess, understand there. But not saying that would have been the case for those two, but hey, if they did, would it have been the end of the world with talent like that? Like you say, passing on to the future generation. But there we have it. We have sadly had to say goodbye to several WWE superstars today. We'll recap them just now. Dolph Ziggler, Shelton Benjamin, Mustafa Ali, Elias, Boogs, Emma, Top Dolla, Riddick Moss, and Aalyiah. It sounds like we are going to get some more tonight coming from NXT as well. But I've been Scott, and this one's been Rob. We really do appreciate you joining us for this breaking news. I've been here for about an hour and a half now, and we really do hope we've kind of given some sort of positivity to the situation. And we appreciate if you've joined us here tonight, whether it's live, whether it's on demand, whether it's your first time or you've been here 600 times already. We really do appreciate you. We hope you press like. We hope you press subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications. But most of all, we hope that those that have left WWE today have a prosperous career and future going forward. Anyway, thank you very much. We'll see you on the next one.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.